Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest energy updates and digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We bring you updates every day. Just a reminder, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions, always. Let me ask you something, XRP Army, real quick. Have you ever been part of something so early, so misunderstood, that most people wouldn't even realize what it was until years later? History shows us this pattern over and over again. In the early 1990s, people laughed at the internet. In 2007, people mocked smartphones. In 2010, people ignored cloud computing. Not because the technology wasn't real, but because the infrastructure phase is always boring. And if you're watching this right now, you may be standing inside one of these moments without even realizing it. Today, I want to slow things down, zoom out for a second, and show you why this specific setup around XRP is unlike anything most people have ever experienced. Not hype, not short-term price action, not speculation. This is about structure, positioning, and rarity. Before we dive in, thank you to everyone who takes the time to like, subscribe, comment, and share these videos. Your engagement helps get this information in front of more people. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high-value insights to the crypto community. I want to talk about the XRP rich list, rarity before awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, the XRP rich list is out globally. There are millions of XRP wallets, but here's the number that matters. Only 330,000 wallets worldwide hold more than 10,000 XRP. Let this sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Only 10,000 XRP. Because right here, there are over 8 billion people on Earth. That means roughly 0.000054% of the global population owns 10,000 XRP or more. To put this in perspective, imagine walking into a stadium with 50,000 people packed inside. Statistically, only 4 or 5 people in that entire stadium would qualify. That's it. That's the group, ladies and gentlemen. And here's the micro story most people miss. Every major wealth transfer in history started like this. In the 1800s, railroad investors were ridiculed until rail became the backbone of commerce. In the early days of oil, only a handful of families understood what controlling energy meant. In the early internet era, owning bandwidth and infrastructure mattered far more than owning websites. This is the same pattern. What's even more interesting is that this number is slowly growing month over month, not exploding, not trending on social media, quiet accumulation. And this brings us to our first anchor, rarity before awareness. Stop watching price, study structure. I harp on this all the time in our videos. You got to stop watching price and study structure. Here's where most people get it wrong. They stare at the price. They refresh charts all day. They argue online. But the people who understand what's happening don't throw mud at anybody and are also doing something very different. They're studying why XRP exists. They're studying what role it plays. They're studying who's building around it. This is so key. Think about the early days of Amazon. People obsessed over stock volatility, while Bezos obsessed over logistics, warehouses, and fulfillment. Price came later. Infrastructure came first. That brings us to the next anchor, infrastructure before price. Assets don't become foundational by accident. They become foundational when systems quietly begin to rely on them before the public even notices. Let's talk about why XRP can be tier 1 financial asset. Let's talk about something most people never ask. Why would XRP ever be considered a tier 1 banking asset? Tier 1 does not mean popular. It does not mean trendy. It does not mean retail excitement, ladies and gentlemen. Tier 1 means essential. Essential. Gold was tier 1 collateral for centuries. U.S. Treasuries replaced it in the modern era. Every system has a settlement anchor. XRP offers instant global liquidity, neutrality across jurisdictions, ledger-level transparency, institutional-grade reliability. These are the same qualities central banks demand for reserve assets historically. This is why this anchor matters, ladies and gentlemen. Settlement over speculation. Let's talk about Ripple's global regulatory position. Now zoom out even further with me. Let's look at Ripple, the company. Ripple currently holds more regulatory licenses across more jurisdictions than any other blockchain infrastructure provider on Earth. Let this sink in. Historically, regulation always comes before mass adoption. Railroads needed charters. Telecom needed licenses. Banking needed regulation. This is not resistance, ladies and gentlemen. This is preparation. Institutions don't gamble with compliance. They build the rails first, they secure approval, then the volume arrives. T+0 settlement. The same shift as email versus mail. T+0 settlement means instant settlement. No waiting days. No reconciliation chaos. No uncertainty. This is the same shift as email replacing physical mail. Once instant communication existed, no one willingly went back. Now apply that logic to money. Imagine a neutral digital asset sitting at the center of settling trillions of dollars per day for decades. Not cycles, not hype windows, decades. Ask yourself what happens to something essentially when demand is structural, not speculative. Let's talk about European Central Bank cross-border reality. Now, this isn't fringe speculation, ladies and gentlemen. This came from a discussion involving the European Central Bank and Ripple executives. The question was direct. Will Ripple transform cross-border payments and become an alternative SWIFT? SWIFT itself was revolutionary in the 1970s, but it was built for a pre-internet world. The ECB discussion acknowledged domestic payments are improving. International payments are not, unfortunately. 4 to 5 days, unclear fees, chasing transactions. They openly stated that cross-border payments need a neutral bridge asset. That's not ideology, that's engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still watching, this part matters. Every historical financial shift had an inflection point. Gold to paper, paper to digital, digital programmable value. This is that moment, and it leads directly into tokenization. Let's talk about tokenization, the next internet moment. Tokenization is not crypto hype. It's the same transition as music going from CDs to streaming. Ownership didn't disappear. Access expanded. Stocks, real estate, funds, entire portfolios, all becoming liquid, divisible, programmable. And once assets move on chain, they need settlement. They need compliance. They need liquidity, which brings us again to infrastructure. Benjamin Diggles, co-founder of the DAG Network. Benjamin, co-founder of DAG Network, explained this perfectly. He spoke about how outdated systems have locked value away, like medieval castles guarding wealth. Tokenization lowers the drawbridge, fractional ownership, lower barriers, broader participation. This is the same effects ETFs had on markets, but exponentially larger. Let's talk about Standard Chartered via SWIFT, from pilot to mainstream. A representative from Standard Chartered, speaking through SWIFT, said something critical. Tokenization is moving from pilot programs into mainstream adoption. This is the same language used when cloud computing replaced local servers. Once institutions say mainstream, the decision has already been made. Let's talk about the Canton Network, control versus neutrality. A representative from Canton Network highlighted something most people miss. Just because something runs on decentralized rails doesn't mean the asset itself is neutral. If issuers can freeze assets, control still exists. History shows us this clearly. Neutral settlement layers always win, ladies and gentlemen. Shipping lanes, internet protocols, payment rails. And that's why XRP's design matters. Let's talk about Franklin Templeton, the future of investing. Executives from Franklin Templeton have been very clear. The future includes cryptographical protected wallets, tokenized portfolios, investment woven into daily life. Your wallet becomes your financial identity, just like smartphones, consolidated cameras, GPS, and wallets. This consolidates financial life. Let's talk about major banking confirmation. BNY and Ripple. BNY Mellon launched tokenized deposit services for institutional clients. Ripple infrastructure was involved early, and Ripple received approval from the UK Financial Conduct Authority, FCA. In 2024, 9 out of 10 applicants were denied. This mirrors history again. Only a few telecom companies got early licenses. They became giants. Let's go back to the stadium analogy. Let me bring this full circle. The stadium didn't change 5,000 people still inside. The number didn't change. Only 4 or 5 still qualify. What changes is awareness. If you're holding XRP, you're not holding a trend. You're holding a position during the infrastructure phase. And history tells us this phase is always quiet right before everything changes. Enjoy the process. Study the system. Understand the role. Because years from now, When this infrastructure simply works and fades into the background, you'll remember this moment. Your engagement helps get this information, ladies and gentlemen, in front of more people. Thank you so much for tuning in, for liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high value insights to the crypto community. Well, if you made it this far, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you. I just outlaid real for you in this video what gives me the Gucci clarity. This is giving me the Gucci clarity, okay? That's what I think about every day, what I convey to people all over the world. This isn't financial advice. This is perspective. And I'm trying to frame this for you to understand that you stop looking at noise. You stop looking at current events. You see where history is going. You take a step back and you see the examples of where history came from to where we're going. We're underneath the shark. We're the remora. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Stay frosty. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own financial research. Consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it, telling themselves it'll never happen again, or you can be the one who saw behind the curtain, the one who understood the infrastructure shift, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise while XRP continues developing behind the scenes, building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opened your eyes. Smash that like button, ring the bell. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you context, clarity, research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, stay in the Republic.